comes angles. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And hello, everyone. My name is Angus, and I'm the head of product marketing at POCO. And today, I will be introducing our latest smartphones. Let's talk about exactly what you need and more. Introducing our latest X series. The POCO X3 Pro. Now, the key word for this smartphone is more. We're going to talk about some of the upgrades it's gotten over its previous generation, the POCO X3 NFC. First, we have more performance. Now, last year, with the POCO X3 NFC, we global debuted the 732G, a great mid-range chipset. But some fans may think X series is a mid-range segment. We will most likely launch a better 700 series, offering a better mid-range performance. But actually, for the Pro, we're going to take it up one notch, offering flagship performance. For the POCO X3 Pro, we'll be releasing the leading 4G processor in 2021, the Qualcomm Snapdragon 860. The X3 Pro is actually the very first model to use this processor, and the Snapdragon 860 may be one of the last 4G flagship chipset for a while. As an 800 series processor, it uses a flagship structure and only a 7nm process. And this prime core has a pretty high 2.96 GHz speed, offering a ton of power. So when we compare the Snapdragon 860 to last year's flagship 865, there are a lot of similarities. The 800 series structure with 1 prime core, 3 performance cores, and 4 efficiency cores. Now, 700 series usually do 2 performance cores and 6 efficiency cores. It's lacking that big prime core. It's also an octa-core CPU with 7nm process. And the GPU, it's also Adreno 600 series. Actually, let's talk about the GPU. The Snapdragon 860 comes with the Qualcomm Adreno 640, offering smooth gaming. And we did an FPS test on this with one of the most popular games in the industry, the Genshin Impact. The result was quite amazing. Using the Snapdragon 860, we were able to get a stable 50 frames per second on average, and the settings were on high. I can confidently say in the 4G processor segment, there isn't many chipset that can perform this well. But besides GPU, the 860 have a great AI engine as well, up to 7.6 trillion operations per second, also one of the highest in the 4G segment, which allows photo editing and video editing faster and quicker. The combination of a great CPU, GPU, and AI, the X3 Pro's Snapdragon 860 scored a very high AnTuTu benchmark of around 490,000. Among the 4G chipsets, this is definitely one of the best scores, if not the best. To give you an idea of why this is impressive, let's take a look at a few comparisons. Now, if we take one of the most commonly used 4G processor in the market in the last year or two and compare, the Snapdragon 720G has an average AnTuTu score of almost 280,000. But that is 76% in difference compared to the 860. The performance difference is massive. But not only that, let's compare with another 700 series, the Snapdragon 765G, which is a 5G chipset. It's one of the best processors in 700 series, regardless if it was 5G or 4G. But the difference here is still very obvious. 52% better performance with the 860. Now, I know some fans across the stream may be wondering, how come we're comparing against 700 series? 700 series is a standard for mid-range smartphones on the market. At POCO, we're raising that standard and showing our fans it's most certainly possible to put an 800 series in the mid-range segment. So simple, POCO X3 Pro offers flagship 4G performance. But processor isn't the only part we made a change. We've also added UFS 3.1, which is a standard in high-end flagships these days, but still pretty rare in the mid-range segment. Having UFS 3.1, you can get write speed up to 198% faster than 2.1. It's the perfect combination with the A60. And for our UFS 3.1, you can now get up to 256 gigabyte of internal storage. Compared to last year's POCO X3 NFC, it's an upgrade from 128 gigabytes. But we also have a shocking expandable storage, up to 1 TB. That's amazing. You could potentially have almost 1.3 terabyte of storage space on the POCO X3 Pro. Now just think about that for a second. That's more storage space than most standard laptops. Of course, we didn't forget to upgrade our RAM as well. From a 6 gig option only for the POCO X3 NFC, we're giving more RAM in the X3 Pro, up to 8 gigs of RAM, flagship level. So actually, we didn't just upgrade the 4G performance. We did the whole package, offering a complete flagship performance. The Snapdragon 860, the leading 4G processor, up to 8 gigs of RAM, flagship level, and UFS 3.1 up to 256 gigs, and still kept expandable storage and pushed that to 1 terabyte. All of these performance providing more speed and power for your daily usage. Now, powering all this performance, we still have a huge battery of 5,160 milliamp, offering easily 2 days battery. I remember seeing a lot of great comments about how good the POCO X3 NFC battery is, and many people claiming this is one of the best battery phone out in the market. And even with the 800 series processor, we're still getting great single usage time. 11 hours of gaming, 117 hours of music, 18 hours of video playback, and almost 6.5 hours of 1080p video recording. And when you do need to charge it, it really doesn't take long, even for a big battery like this. Without MMT 33-watt fast charging, the POCO X3 Pro can reach 100% in just 59 minutes. And I used to be the type of person that likes to leave my phone charging overnight. But now, the battery can easily last over for 2 days. I usually charge it in the morning when I wake up and I get ready for work. By the time I leave, it's all juiced up. Super convenient. So POCO X3 Pro, more performance with flagship 4G processor, flagship 8 gigs RAM option, flagship UFS 3.1 storage, up to 256 gigabyte, that awesome 5,160 milliamp battery with 33-watt fast charging. And of course, we did keep the liquid cool technology 1.0 plus for sustainable performance. This is exactly the performance you need and more. Now, thanks to the performance upgrade, the POCO X3 Pro can get even more creative than before. Using the A60 with the AI performance boost, more software features are made available. Let's take a look at the X3 Pro's camera. Now, the X3 Pro still features a quad camera setup, a 48 megapixel main camera using the Sony IMX582, a 119-degree ultra-wide camera, a macro camera, and a depth sensor. Let's check out some sample shots. First, we have the main camera shot. We took a part of a bike and shot the gear setup. As you can see, the focus and the coloring on the gear is on point. How different the lighting in the background gives it the shade on the metal finish. But actually, if we go closer, we could see something even cooler in detail. When you turn on your macro camera and shoot closer, you can actually see the water droplets on the gear. Super small details can be seen with macro mode. Then, when you take a portrait shot with the depth sensor, with this mode, you can see how it captured with great details and blurring out the background, only focusing on the model and this mode is very easy to use. And of course, the 119 ultra-wide angle camera, which is great for architecture shots like this. You can see how even the wide angle, you can still maintain the brightness contrast on this specific shot. But because we have the Snapdragon 860 AI capabilities, we can capture it not just during the day, but also at night. In this photo, with ultra night mode turned on, when you're in a dark environment with some lights in the background, it actually boosts the brightness contrast while maintaining the colors. Now, this mode is honestly great when you're trying to take a night scenery shots of cities as well. But most importantly, we do have the video features that's powered by the Snapdragon 860, specifically video clones and dual video. Let's check out both video out right now. That was some awesome videos. And to support our dual video, we actually have a 20 megapixel in-display front camera, which we also added a new feature, night mode selfie. Now, I don't usually take selfies myself, but when I do, I often find myself usually taking it in a pretty dark environment. Whether it's restaurants or outside in the street lights, this specific mode helps increase the contrast while keeping the clarity. This is POCO X3 Pro's camera, with more software features powered by the Snapdragon 860 and maintaining a quad camera setup from last generation. You'll get a lot of versatile content to play around with and rule over the social media space. Make sure you go explore other amazing features in the X3 Pro. There are a lot of them to play around with. And now for design. We've also changed a little bit on the X3 Pro. The POCO X3 NFC was a unique looking device, but we wanted to make it even cooler than before. First, we still kept the POCO reflective chroma design. That still stands out and still looks very cool. And we kept it symmetrical as well. We called it the finish line design before, but it wasn't perfect. We actually saw some complaints about the back design, such as a lot of fingerprints when fans aren't using the case. For the Pro, we've made a change. We've used a dual texture in the back. So on the sides of the X3 Pro, it has a matte finish, so it can prevent fingerprints. But besides making these small details, we've also added 3 new colors. We have the Phantom Black, the Frost Blue, and the Metal Bronze. All 3 colors are brand new and refined, a more complicated coloring process than before. My favorite is actually the Phantom Black. It has a touch of purple under the light. But the blue and metal bronze is pretty awesome looking too. It's very eye-catching. Let us know which color you like most in the comments. Now we talked about the back design. Let's actually briefly take a look at the front display. For our X3 Pro's display, we kept the 6.67-inch dot display, keeping it super immersive. We still have that tiny, tiny dot at the top, same size as the previous generation. And it's still a flagship level display that features 120 Hz refresh rate and 240 Hz touch sampling rate. Still great for gaming and daily usage, whether when you're scrolling through Instagram or Twitter. And the X3 Pro also kept Dynamic Switch, an awesome smart tech that helps save battery by automatically adjusting each content you view to its most optimized frame rate. I personally thought this was one of the smartest features on the X3 NFC, and the X3 Pro had to have it. Overall, the X3 Pro still has an amazing screen, but yet we still took it to the next level. On the X3 Pro, we added Corning Gorilla Glass 6, giving flagship-level display protection. For those who don't know how good Corning Gorilla Glass 6 is, it's the level between Corning Gorilla Glass 5 and the latest Victus. To give you a better idea, Corning Gorilla Glass 6 is a true flagship feature. Phones that are priced above $1,000 has it, and so does the X3 Pro. Impressive, right? So to sum it all up, on the X3 Pro's design, we have 3 new colors: Phantom Black, Frost Blue, and Metal Bronze. All 3 looks really good. Anti-fingerprint size to keep it more clean, a massive 6.67-inch dot display that still maintained 120 Hz refresh rate and 240 Hz touch sampling rate. All that protected by Corning Gorilla Glass 6 in the front. This is exactly the design and display you need and more. So we've upgraded POCO X3 Pro to not only offer exactly what you need, but we gave you more performance, more creativity, and more design. But we did keep some other great features from the X3 NFC that's still worth mentioning. The dual speaker setup. With the X3 Pro, you're still getting great audio no matter what you're doing. Gaming or watching videos or listening to music. And I say it's a great audio with confidence because we actually got tested by DxOMark Audio. For our X3 NFC speakers, which is the same as the X3 Pro, we were able to get a DxOMark Audio score of 63. Now that may not seem super impressive just by itself, but what about this? Let's take a look at one of the flagships from last year that was also tested for DxOMark Audio. The Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5G scored 68. Just a little bit above POCO X3 NFC. But look at the price difference. It's fair to say we're pretty much on the same level as flagships. And when it comes to touch, we still have a great Z-axis linear motor. It's super responsive when you're gaming and giving you the ultimate feel experience. And this feature is still uncommon to see in the mid-range smartphone range. And lastly, the essential features: IR blaster, NFC, and headphone jack. Features that we believe are still very much needed based on the demands we see from users. POCO X3 Pro has it all. So we kept some great features from the POCO X3 NFC. Big battery of 5,160 milliamp and 33 watt fast charge, 120 Hz refresh rate and 240 Hz touch sampling rate on a 6.67-inch dot display, the dual speakers, the Z-axis linear motor, NFC, IR blaster, and headphone jack. The features we had in exactly what you need. And when it comes to more, we gave you a 800 series processor, the A60, leading 4G processor, up to 8 GB of RAM, up to 256 internal storage of UFS 3.1, and Corning Gorilla Glass 6 and a quad camera with more software features. This is exactly what you need and more. Now, price. I believe today we won't disappoint our fans at all. We'll be offering a great price. But first, let's do a comparison. If we take a look at some of the popular mid-rangers in the market in 2020 until now, we've highlighted our strong points: flagship 860 processor, big screen with high refresh rate and touch sampling rate, huge battery with 33 watt fast charge. Now, their price is roughly starting at 450 euros and more. But let's just not compare to others. There is an old saying that it only matters when you've outdone yourself. So let's take a look at a comparison with the POCO X3 NFC. With a massive processor upgrade, RAM upgrade, and storage speed upgrade, and maintaining all the beloved features from the X3 NFC, our 6 GB plus 128 GB option, that time for X3 NFC, had a retail price of 269 euros. And we did do an early bird of 249 euros, which at the time, I believe shocked many fans. I was shocked myself. But for the X3 Pro, for our base variant of 6GB and 128GB, we do have an amazing price. It starts at 249 euros. Now, I'm curious how many fans across the stream, their jaws dropped, or maybe even said, how is that even possible? But we still have an early bird price to show you. For the base variant, we have an early bird price of 229 euros. Now, we did put a question mark here, actually. But remember when we had a shocking achievement that Kevin mentioned of 4 million POCO X3 NFC shipped in just 7 months? We want to use this time to thank our fans. So we tweaked the early bird price a little. We actually have an early bird pricing on the base variant for 199 euros. Now, I'm confident many fans are commenting like crazy right now, because I was hyped when I first heard this, we were able to do this. But what made me even more shocked was when I looked back at this. If we take a look at this chart, look at the upgrades, then the retail price and the early bird compared to the X3 NFC, can you see how amazing and crazy this pricing is? If we break it down, our retail price for the Pro is 20 euros less than the X3 NFC and 50 euros less in early bird. It's amazing and simply shocking, but we wanted to do it for our fans as a thank you for supporting us all this time, especially in our X series. Now, for our higher variant of 8GB plus 256GB, we also have an amazing price that starts at 299 euros. Now, this is truly great value. Of course, for our high variant, we do have an early bird pricing. It starts at 279 euros. Now, you see the question mark again, because we would like to play it fair here at POCO. We wouldn't just do it for the base variant and not for the high variant. For the high variant, we actually have an early bird price of 249 euros. Now, with this pricing, I'm going to make a stronger statement here. This makes POCO X3 Pro one of the most affordable 4G flagship on the market and one of the best value smartphone as well. And when you look at this chart again, see our early bird pricing or even the retail pricing, we beat our competitors in most of the features. And at our base variant, we're more than half the price on discount. This is how we do it at POCO. Now, to get this crazy price phone, the X3 Pro, it will be available from March 24th to April 1st on early bird pricing specifically for these channels. Our new official POCO website will be one of the first channels you can check out. So make sure you mark your calendars. Don't miss out on this deal. I hope all the fans will be adding this to their cart on this date. Now, we'll also be coming soon on a lot more platforms. So please follow our official accounts in your regions to stay up to date on when it will be available. And we also got one more thing. We will also be offering a free of charge one screen replacement within 6 months of purchase. Please check your local region and terms and conditions for more information. So here it is in summary. The POCO X3 Pro, starting at 199 euros for early bird and 249 euros on a higher variant for early bird as well. Flagship 4G performance with awesome features and a crazy price. This is exactly what you need and more.